Welcome back to another CES 2022 video. Out of all the laptop announcements so far, I personally feel ASUS has had the best lineup this year. First and foremost, they're correcting a lot of the mistakes we found on previous Zephyrus laptops. For example, the G15 and M16 have had some refinements to make this the product we want it to be. You know, the G15 was one of my favorite laptops of 2021, but one of the biggest problems with it was it didn't come with a webcam. Well, this year with the new G15, they're finally putting a webcam on top. It's going to support Windows Hello, so you can quickly log yourself in and you no longer have to carry an external webcam around in your backpack if you want to have a simple conference call. Now, we're still sticking with an AMD Ryzen processor on the G15. You can spec it all the way up to a Ryzen 9 6900HS, and it will have 8 or 16 gigabytes of memory soldered onto the motherboard like it did in the previous year. If you buy anything over an RTX 3080, it's gonna have 16 gigabytes of RAM soldered on, which means you can put up to 48 gigabytes of memory inside this laptop. Now, because this is one of their more expensive products, you're getting DDR5 RAM. So 4800 megahertz, it's gonna be nice and fast. It's gonna make this feel a bit faster than it was compared to the previous year. Now, the big announcement from ASUS this year was that all of these laptops, doesn't matter if you're buying an ROG Strix, a Zephyrus, it makes no difference. They're all gonna come with MUX switches. So you're gonna be able to connect directly to the GPU. You're gonna be able to switch back and forth. Now, the TGP of this laptop is gonna be very similar compared to the previous generation, only 100 watts plus 20 watts of dynamic boost, but I feel like for most people, that's more than enough. And my gut feeling is that the 3080 Ti is probably gonna be overkill because of the wattage on this thing, and I have a feeling like 3070 or regular 3080 is going to be the sweet spot. Now, you can spec this with a 240 hertz panel with a 3 millisecond response time, and it has adaptive sync for that refresh rate to make it variable. You can only spec it with a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, but you can probably upgrade to something bigger yourself. Obviously, it comes with Wi-Fi 6E, a 20% bigger touchpad compared to the previous one, and there's 6 speakers inside of here. And the wattage on the battery is still 90 watt hours. Now, obviously it has USB Type-C because this is an AMD product. It's not Thunderbolt 4, but you can charge the laptop up to 50% in just 30 minutes. The same story kind of holds true for the M16, you know, same design, same port setup. Nothing's changed in terms of where the ports are located. They're still using that ergo hinge. All the ports are more forward on the laptop, which is kind of annoying when you have stuff connected to it, but that's the way it is if you want this ergo hinge to exist. But just like the G15, you do get a bigger touchpad. Again, this is the previous model. It's gonna be 20% bigger. Keys are gonna be 1.7 millimeters of travel distance. Apparently, they've reduced the sound of it, so it should sound quieter when you're actually typing on it. The display is still super thin. Of course, you get the webcam like you did in the previous version, but unlike the G15, you do get a 16:10 display, which is QHD. I think 165 hertz, a little lower, but it's still QHD, and you get obviously more vertical space to work with. Now, this is the Intel version, right? M16 only comes with an Intel CPU. You can spec it to a 12900H, and unlike last year, where you could only have an RTX 3060 in North America or 3070 in some other regions, this guy can finally be spec'd with an RTX 3080. Now, it also has a 90 watt hour battery, USB Type-C, but unlike the AMD version of the G15, this has Thunderbolt 4. Both of these laptops support PCIe Gen 4, so you're gonna have those super fast read and write speeds. And just like the G15, you're gonna have some of the RAM soldered on to the motherboard. This is what I think. I think if you're a content creator first, but also a very passionate gamer, I feel like the M16 is gonna be better suited to you just because you get that extra vertical space. And historically, Intel processors have always been better with certain creative applications, especially the Adobe suite. But if you are more of a gamer first, I feel like the G15 will be the better option just because of that gaming display. higher refresh rate, better battery life because of the 6 nanometer AMD processor inside. But those are the two differences between both of these laptops. Now, the Zephyrus product that I'm truly most excited about is the G14 because this thing got the most changes, and ASUS answered a lot of our questions, or a lot of our wants, basically. They changed the way this thing looks and it feels, and I think a lot of people buying this in 2022 are going to be a lot happier. Webcam was always an issue. Now it has one. It's only 720p, but there is an IR sensor baked inside of it, so you can use Windows Hello to quickly log you on. The other thing I didn't like about it is the fact that the screen was 16:9, which is great if it's a strictly gaming laptop, but on a 14-inch display, it feels super cramped. So they bumped that up to a 16:10 aspect ratio, making it feel bigger than it truly is. You can still buy it with a full HD panel with a high refresh rate, or a QHD panel with 120 Hz refresh rate. So a little better, more pixel dense, color accurate if you're creator first, gamer second. But if you're strictly a gamer, the full HD panel is the one you probably want. 4 speakers inside here, 91% screen to body ratio, so the bezels are going to be thinner than the previous version, which I'm showing you right now. And of course, just like the G15, you get the latest 6000 series processor, the 6900HS, if you buy the most expensive model. Now, one thing that's very interesting though, was they ditched the Nvidia GPU. Like last year, you could only spec it with an RTX 3060. This year, they switched to AMD, and you can get this up to an RX 6800S. Now, according to AMD, this 6800S is on par with an RTX 3080 that you'd find in a Blade 14. So not only is it going to run cooler since it's running on a 6 nanometer architecture, it's going to boost higher too because it has the potential to boost up to 105 watts, which is more than last year's RTX 3060. So expect really good performance. Now, in terms of ports, it's very much the same. Like the left-hand side, you're looking at the same sort of port lineup, still in the front, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. On the right-hand side, it's the same. The only difference is the new one is getting a micro SD card slot. Now, just like the M16 and G15, it's gonna have some of its RAM soldered onto the motherboard, but unlike those two, you can only spec it up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, and it too is coming with a MUX switch. Honestly, I am really impressed with ASUS's lineup this year. It does look the most attractive that I've seen so far, but we still have more manufacturers coming up with their lineup, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about any of these laptops I just talked about, make sure to drop your questions in the comment section because I will be reviewing all of them. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.